Shalom, welcome to Out of Africa Torah session. My name is Tatra Cohen, and this week we are on the Torah portion, Eikev, because, or in other words, you would say, for this reason. And this is a very interesting Torah portion because we find Moshe continues to give his farewell message. And like here in Africa, if you know that your leader is about to depart, whether on a long journey or is about to die, some even know when they're about to die. They begin to give you lots of instructions and history and a number of things that can help you survive even during his or her absence. And this is exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu actually did on this Torah portion. Now in his discourse, he mentions a number of things. The certain type of people whom you shall meet on your journey, whom you should not spare. He also mentions a number of things, like from the previous one, about what Hashem did and so forth. But then at the end, he mentions something which is very interesting, and he says, you shall not forget God. And that is actually what I want to talk about today. Why would Moshe need to say these things? Well, there are a number of things why he would say you should not forget God. But I would like to remind you, this is the tendency of most of us. You could be praying for something, you could be needing God because you are in a difficulty. You could be, really close to God because of the challenge that you're having. Maybe you have a thorn in the flesh, and that's really what's keeping you close to your God. But as soon as God removes those challenges, those issues that may be bringing you closer, that thorn which may be found in your flesh, you find you are nowhere near God. And that should be our message today. The children of Israel were coming from this journey of dependence. By the way, miracles were happening in the wilderness so much that there was no need for any of them to do certain or extraordinary kind of thing for their survival. But in this case, every day they needed a miracle. Even for them to move from point A to point B, they needed God to provide water, to provide food, to provide any means of sustenance, including the light and the protection that they would need in this journey. But guess what? As they entered the promised land, there was no need for most of these miracles, if not all at all. And that point, when you have what you have been praying for, when you finally enter the promised land, you would be tempted to see that there is no need for God anymore. And most of us actually in this kind of, mediocre service, or this attitude of mediocrity of serving God because we probably don't need him anymore. And that is exactly what Moshe, the servant of Adonai, warned the people of Israel and whoever was amongst them, that when you finally enter the land which you have been promised, of course these miracles will cease because you no longer need them. We no longer need manna because we have got this wonderful land we can actually plant, and we have we reap a harvest which we want. And in that harvest, you may be tempted to forget God. Now, sadly today, many of us succumb to this temptation. You find you've been praying to God for a child. As soon as the child comes, few of us are like Hannah, who would go and say, Lord, I prayed for this child, and here is the child. I want to dedicate the child to your service. There are very few of us who can do that, But most of us have this tendency that, well, I needed God for this part, and now that that is done, I no longer need him. Therefore, you walk away from him. And this is the warning, a message from Moses, the servant of the living God, that you should never forget God. In other words, beware to forget your God. When things are not going on well, people are very close to God. No wonder here in Africa, we're actually one of the most, if not the most religious group you can find under the sun. But guess what? Sometimes we are too religious because of the challenges we have. But when we no longer have these challenges, that's the time when you should never forget God. This is my message, a very short and precise message for you. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you.